All right. Hey, everybody. We're live. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts, episode 158, the episode where I try to keep on my noise canceling headphones and not listen to my own voice too much. But hey, we're glad you're here. Hopefully you saw our message in the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group yet, we'll pop the link in here. But go check that out. Now, before we get into it, I also wanted to say that there's been some back and forth, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up for Black Friday. All right. There's lots of deals out there. I know everyone's watching like Amazon, all sorts of stuff. And we've got some never before seen bundles before. And when I say never before, I mean it. Like this stuff, we got some good stuff. So I'll leave it at that. There's definitely going to be more on that later, but I wanted to give everyone a heads up because we've had a few questions and we've been talking over it and we're trying to put together some really good stuff. So if you are new to Semantic Mastery, I'm not going to tell you that. See, I think the headphones are messing with my head. I didn't even get a chance to say hello to anybody yet. So let's stop real quick and go down the line. So Chris, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Great to be back in Austria.
Good deal. Yeah, man. How long were you on the road for?
3 months.
That's awesome. All right. So if anybody's got questions about handling stuff while on the road, talk to Chris. So, all right, Marco, how's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm looking for a Black Friday deal on backs.
Backs.
Gotcha. I think that might be a few years in the future, but we'll see what we can rustle up.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Rob, how you doing?
Doing good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Outstanding. Can't complain. Everybody, in case you don't know, this is Rob Beal, and I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll get you a better introduction. All right. Bradley, how's it going?
Good. I'm back from Vegas from a it was a much needed time away. I mean, we did a little bit of work, but it was more fun than work, I can tell you that. And it was a really good event. I enjoyed it. Spent too much money. But I guess what happens in Vegas type thing. So, yeah. But it was fun. I had a great time. Met a lot of really cool people. The networking was the best part of that. There's hands down. So we're going to be bringing some guests on over the next couple of months from that same event. Right here on the Hump Day Hangout. So you guys will get to meet some of the other players in the game, which would be kind of cool because they can all provide insight to things that we don't or can't, different opinions, different points of view or perspectives. So kind of excited about bringing some of those people on. I met some really, really good guys and guys and gals.
Yeah, you got to meet one of the mastermind members, right?
Yeah, John Allen, one of our mastermind members, he was there. Really nice guy. We did a video with him in the Facebook group, and yeah, it was really cool. Any chance to get to meet any one of our members, I certainly try to do that. So
cool, outstanding. Yeah, it was fun. I'm looking forward to going back to Funnel Hacking Live in the spring and hopefully meeting up with some people again. So. All right, so let's get into it real quick. A couple of announcements on top of what we mentioned, and then I know Bradley's got another one too. But if you're new to Semantic Mastery, if you haven't checked out the battle plan yet, check it out. It is the SEO blueprint. I'm going to put a link on the page here shortly with a coupon code so you can save $75 right off the bat. If you haven't yet, head over to serpspace.com as well. You can get your free account there. We've got some free tools, and that's where all the done-for-you services are at, a lot of the packages, link building, all that stuff. So I just implore you, go check it out and create your account. So, and then the last place is support.semanticmastery.com. If you've got questions, we love when you put the questions on this page, obviously, but go check that out, especially if it's your first couple of times asking questions. And because sometimes we might refer you over there. It's where we have a lot of charts and diagrams and some of the more in-depth questions that tend to come up frequently. And that way you could get your question answered hopefully ahead of time. And that would be helpful to everybody. So, all right, that's it from my end. I think, Bradley, you wanted to share something?
Yeah, one more thing is we did the SEO Bootcamp webinar with Jeffrey Smith last week, I think it was last week. And let's see, what date was it? It was Monday, November 6th. So yeah, it was last week. And anyways, it was fabulous. I hadn't gone through the entire course, and I still haven't gone through the entire course, but I had looked at parts of it and I was quite impressed. And now I'm actually working my way through the course. I have this concept of an hour a day. If you want to accomplish anything in life, as long as you commit an hour per day to it, you can do it, regardless of what it is, no matter how big the goal is. It's not a matter of when or if you'll accomplish a goal, it's a matter of when you approach it that way. And so I've been meaning to go through that course because I know it's fabulous. And and I just haven't made the time over the last month or so since I've known about it, or a couple months really that I've known about it. So I committed to start spending an hour every day in the morning working through that process of going through the training and implementing it. And I've got a project that I'm actually applying exactly what I'm learning from the SEO bootcamp training to the site build, because it's so freaking powerful. If you got a site built correctly, you can rank with a fraction of the links. And so, like, you know, just a tiny fraction of the off page. And guys, what's the hardest thing to do in SEO? In my opinion, it's the off page, right? Because you have the least amount of control over that. And so, you know, I've just been really amazed with how detailed the training is and some of the real ninja stuff that is being taught inside that course. And so I wanted to just kind of pitch that again, say we did a webinar with them last week. I've got the event page URL. I don't know, Adam, if you dropped it on the page or if you want me to do it.
No, I'll go grab it in a sec.
I'll put it in Slack to you.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
put it in Slack. So, but yeah, I would recommend going to the event page from last week's webinar and watching the replay. And if you guys, there's some bonuses that Jeffrey was giving away, as well as some stuff that we're giving away. But anybody that's building sites, guys, are doing, I mean, it's on page is really the beginning and foundation of everything, right? I mean, we do the syndication networks and the drive stacks and all that's like off page stuff. And the content syndication is part of, which is part of the money site, because it's blogging and it's actually building up the authority and the relevancy of the money site itself. But if you don't have proper page structure or site structure, then you're basically swimming upstream. You're climbing uphill at all times. And so that really is the foundation of, like, you should always start with your golden frame. The epicenter of your business should be your website, right? And so, in my opinion, this is foundational training, and it's really good. We couldn't have done as good as Jeffrey did with the on-page training. At least I don't think we could have, because it's really, really good, that good. So with that, I just want to say one more time, I endorse it 100%. Recommend you guys go through it. The price is insane, really. So check it out. And if you have any questions, certainly reach out to us. Okay.
Outstanding. All right, guys. Does anybody else have anything before we dive into questions today? 1, 2, 3. All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right. Wrong one. Hold on a minute. All right. So we're going to get right down to the bottom. James Rich is up first. He says, Bradley, you say season syndication networks with content as soon as they are finished being built. Are there any issues with getting a network built and not doing anything with them for a few weeks? No, not usually, James. If something happens and you got to put a project on hold, it's fine. Really, the reason why you want to season a network is because when you have brand new accounts, if you start automating posting immediately through ifttt, or really any other method for that matter, a lot of times the accounts will get terminated. So when we say season, it just means post some content to them and let them sit for a week or two. I recommend 10 to 14 days if you can. And when you post some original content, or you can actually use other content from the same, if you followed the training, James, like for WordPress.com, for example, we'll go maybe copy another blog post from WordPress.com, like another blog on WordPress.com, and then use that as the content. But we do give attribution. You got to cite the source, and that would become it's an external link from the blog, but it's an internal link back to the original source because it's on the WordPress.com domain, if that makes sense. So even though they're different subdomains, that's typically how we get them to stick, by adding some content and letting it sit for a week or two before adding like additional content where you're automating the posts. All right, and that's really all that's for. So if you build a network or you purchase one, whichever, just let it sit for a couple of weeks. If you don't have anything to do with it for or content for a few weeks or a few months or whatever, it should be fine. What I would do, though, first of all, James, is if, instead of leaving just the empty networks, I would still go in and try to post at least something. Although, again, I don't think it would be any problem. I think you're better off leaving a network or Web 2 sites empty than starting to automate posts right away, if that makes sense. Anybody else have any other comments on that? All right,
on my end.
We'll keep moving. Yep, that's fine. Okay, Jeff's up. He says, Bradley, I know you talked about using press releases in the recent past. I purchased a 10-pack from Peter. Okay, I plan on doing a PR blitz at the end of the year. Is there any information you can share with regards to how much time between releases, links you tend to include, etc.? Hopefully this doesn't infringe on shared mastermind members, because unfortunately I'm not one. I know I should be. Yeah, Jeff, I can go over it on very high-level conceptual stuff now. very high level because that is right now currently mastermind stuff. However, keep this in mind. I am doing some content that will be available that we're probably going to make. We're going to make some publicly available information about the press release stacking method. And then there will be like an upgrade for the actual full training, but so it's kind of like what our battle plan is. And then there's, obviously going to be an upgrade. And that's going to be something that we're going to be releasing in the next, I'd say 6 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks. So, but I can talk about it very briefly on the top. As far as the PR frequency of publishing, I do it about once every 2 weeks. That's how I get started with sites, because a lot of the times you only need about 4 or 5 of them to get significant results. In fact, I've got several properties or lead gen sites that I've been able to pop into the 3-pack, the Maps 3-pack, with just 3 press releases, which is insane. But for ones that are a little bit more competitive, it might take 4 or 5. And so I like to spread them out about every 2 weeks. I know Rob, who's on with us right now, he hammers them. He does one right after another after another. I typically try to wait about 2 weeks per. But Rob, comment on why you just hammer them.
Sorry,
Rob.
I was muted. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, I'll hammer them, as Bradley's saying, and I'll mix up the links. So I'm hitting, not only, kind of the site, but I'm hitting some of the other, I don't have much detail to go into, but other properties, so to speak. So you can actually hit some of your Web 2s, YouTube, things like that to spread it out. And then, you're filtering it through, on some of them, you filter it through those other properties so it can stand the abuse. And,
Yep.
as you said before, I'm kind of impatient. So some of them I'll hit. Now, I don't hit stuff if I'm really, trying to go slow with some things, but on just my own assets that I own for like lead gen, I'm, a little more not nervous to lose. Yeah, I'll hit them.
Right. And so
stack them and all that.
And so, yeah, as far as like, for me, I tend to do it about once every 2 weeks. But like Rob said, the first press release, I always hit the money site and then the Google Maps URL, right? So you go grab the share URL, always hit that first. And then I will do a lot of stacking, and I'm not going to get into the details on this, but what I do is then I chain press releases together to where press release number 2 links to press release number 1, as well as another, either an inner page on the site or like a review URL from Google Maps, or maybe a Yelp page or Facebook or something from the tier 1 network, the branded network, or a citation or something like that. Then press release 3 links to press release 2, as well as other properties, or maybe another inner page URL, that kind of stuff. So essentially I just try to mix it up to where you're not creating a pattern, but you just are you're constantly hitting different tier 1 branded properties, and then also linking from one press release to another. And for me, that's worked really, really well. And I've tested all different types of configurations, and it really, it doesn't seem to have any one particular configuration better than another. They just seem to work well together. What I do recommend is that you use, Jeff, that you try to add some diversity to your press release distribution services, though. Don't just hammer it with one service. Try to use, like inside of SERPspace, for example, we've got 2 different services. So, and that's specifically for that reason, because I use multiple press release distribution services. And so the two of the several that I use are inside of SERPspace as well. If that makes sense. Okay. The reason why is you want diversity in your backlink profiles. You don't want to just keep hammering the same asset over and over again with the same distribution network. I mean, if that's all you got, it's probably still better than nothing, but I would recommend that you diversify a bit if possible. Right. Good question there, Jeff. Next is R.L. Saunders says, can you provide some insight into the anchor text keywords that should be used from tier 2 properties linking to our tier 1 properties, as well as tier 1 linking to money site? Examples would be appreciated also. Thanks, guys. I'm considering purchasing some of the link boosting packages and needing general understanding of the concepts behind this. All right. Good question. What I like to do from tier 2 to link to tier 1, which is typically how we're going to, like, if you're buying link building packages, RL, from SERPspace, we don't allow you to submit your money site. Basically, we will only link to tier 1 properties, and that's because they're spam links, right? I mean, we're using spam tools in order to build the links, and so we don't recommend ever hitting the money site directly. We talk about hitting tier 1 properties, And so with that, what I recommend is that you go with broader keywords and also generics and naked URLs. So, and you don't have to worry about that. That's the naked URLs and the generics are all handled by our link building team. But what you do want to submit is the broader term URL, keywords. What I mean by that is, like, if you're doing local, this is a good example. If you're doing local, you don't want to do like the keyword plus the city, because that is typically more like a tier 1 anchor text than a tier 2 anchor text. It doesn't mean that that never happens on a tier 2, but it's a lot less frequent, because you got to think of like a bullseye, right? Your money keywords or your bullseye keywords are going to be right in the center. Those are going to be the ones, your long tail. Those are going to be your keyword, your service plus city, or service plus geo modifier, right? So that's a keyword plus local modifier. So those are going to be like the type of keywords they're going to point from that first ring down to the bullseye, if that makes sense. Then tier 2 would be the next ring out. So they're typically going to be broader, and they're going to be more frequency of generic and more frequency of naked URLs, right? And in broader terms, there's going to be a lot less frequency of exact match, because the exact match are more bullseye type terms. They should be tighter or reserved more or less for tier 1, if that makes sense. So when you got to tier 3, you do it even further. You can go up to like market level keywords, right? Industry type level keywords and stuff like that. And then go, again, more generics, more naked URLs. And that's typically how I've always built tiered structures. And I'm pretty sure that that's the way that you should do it too. I haven't tested a lot of exact match on tier 2 or tier 3 in a couple of years, because it just doesn't seem logical to do so. I think it's more of a footprint issue if you do a lot of exact match several tiers out, because it just doesn't really fit what typically happens naturally, if that makes sense. Any comments, guys? Okay.
Oh, sorry, took me a while to unmute.
So none? Is that?
Sorry, man. I think it takes a second for my mic to come back in. Sorry, I was trying to answer a question to something, and then yeah, nothing. Let's keep going.
Okay, all right. As far as tier 1, guys, I recommend that you go with mainly brand anchors, naked URLs, and then you can use some exact match. If you're, but be sparing in that, guys. That's part of the reason, like I mentioned at the beginning of today's Hump Day Hangout, on page is so important, because if you have your on page, your site structure done, and your on page correct or tight, then you can rank with purely brand URLs and naked URLs, and you don't even need keyword anchor text links. And we've proven that over and over again. So again, if you've got your on page, I would recommend that you stick with branded terms, naked URLs, primarily for tier 1 links. Okay. Maybe a few select exact matches, but I would be very sparing in that, because again, you can let your on page tell Google what the page is about more so than the links. All right. Lisa says, what is your favorite spamming method for websites? SERP-based link building packages. I mean, literally, that's what we use. Anytime I've got something I want to spam, I just send it over to our team over there, and they spam it for me. That's pretty much it. I don't really have another comment for you. Anybody else have any other favorite spamming methods?
No, I mean, I think that's the go-to right now. I mean, that's based on Dedia's methods, who he learned from himself and us, and who you used before. So yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah. And he uses GSA is like more second tier stuff now, but he uses like Ranker X, and I think it's what I don't know. There's a lot of tools that he's using now, but there are 3 or 4 different tools that are really the first tier are a bunch of Web 2s. So they're typically higher, domain authority type properties, a little bit more relevant, because we have a bunch of, networks or link targets that link networks that we've scraped over the years now. So that we've got, niche based networks and things like that. And we use those as the tier 1 to whatever we're spamming. And then we put, throw GSA or kitchen sink spam behind that. So GSA is still a great tool for that kind of stuff. I still recommend you use that, 2 or 3 tiers out from any sort of money site. But, there's multiple good tools for doing spam links.
I'd like that in there, drive stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Although
that can filter some of the spam.
Calling that a spam is really a kind of a misleading a bit, because we use it also to validate the entity. You know what I mean? And so I mean, yeah, we spam a drive stack, but the drive stack itself actually validates the entity, helps to validate the entity. So because of that, it's not in itself, it's not really a spam method, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
All right, I can already see the support tickets coming in on that one. Thanks, Rob. Jay's up. He says, hi, guys. Maps ranking question. According to your SEO battle plan, you admonished to go small on embeds and power up links to the ifttt ring on a brand new site. Do you recommend that pace can be more aggressive at this site and GMB is 5+ years old? The market is one of the most competitive. Your press release strategy is being used and in one of the major 5 cities in the US. What do you think? Yeah, absolutely, Jay. In my opinion, if it's an established brand, an established site, and it's, you know, been around for some time, then yeah, it can, at least in my opinion, without doing an actual analysis of the property, the general answer is yes, you can be a lot more aggressive with those. Usually when we're talking about being really conservative, it's about newer properties. So stuff that you really have to fly under Google's radar, so to speak, right? And so you don't want to raise any red flags. But if you got something that's been established for 5 years, again, without looking at it, I would take it on a case-by-case basis, but the vast majority of them will likely be able to withstand a lot more, you being a lot more aggressive. Okay. Let's see. The market is one of the most competitive press release strategies being used, and in one of the major 5 cities in the U.S. What do you think? Yeah, and that, in my opinion, that's one of the things that the press releases is something that I've been real aggressive. Well, I say real aggressive, but as I mentioned earlier, about once every 2 weeks, I'll do another press release for even brand new properties. And like I said, I've been able to rank into the Maps pack for within just 3 press releases, so about 6 weeks. And sometimes with a little bit more competition, it takes, 4 or 5 press releases. And so it might take me, 2 months or so. And if I wanted to be more aggressive, I probably could, but I try to typically for newer properties, just be a little bit more conservative. But again, with 5-year-old site and Google My Business listing, you could likely get away with doing, a press release every day, every couple of days, or every, once a week or something like that. So 4 in a month, and you'd be able to use those, find a VA or use something like Scrapebox and put all your URLs from your press release distribution report in there and figure out which ones have do follow links. And then you could use those to like spam, you could spam those with additional links too, because then you allow the press release site to kind of like launder that link juice a bit. Right. And that works really well too, because a lot of times when you spam a press release, and also if you can send some traffic to it, there's some Fiverr gigs you could use. There's some other things that you could do. You could end up getting the press releases to rank for your keywords too. So it's a good strategy. All right, I believe this is Keith. He says, hey guys, quick site structure question. I'm building out an authority site for an affiliate business. I want to add a collection of subniches and set up silos for them. Question, should I use subdomains for the silo subniches, or should I just use a category subfolder? Okay. Keith, I wouldn't, like, if you're going to silo collection of subniches and set up silos for them, if you're going to silo a site, I'm not sure why you wouldn't just silo it on the site, the root domain itself, instead of like having separate WordPress installations, which is what you would have to have if you have them on subdomains or in subdirectories, subfolders, like you mentioned. I'm not sure why you would want separate WordPress sites for all of those. Typically a silo means that it's all within the same domain. Right, so you're talking about site structure with categories, pages and child pages, and ultimately, depending on whether it's simple silo structure or complex silo structure. But with the complex method, right, you're going to have top-level pages, child pages, and in posts. But you have top-level pages are corresponding with top-level categories, and then your child pages correspond with subcategories, and then your posts just fall within those, right? And so that's all usually done within just one WordPress installation. I'm not sure why you're trying to separate those. I mean, you could, but to me, that would be a real pain in the ass. Publishing content, you'd have each time you wanted to publish content to a different silo, you'd have to log into a different site. And that's not a really efficient way to run it. Not only that, but I'm not sure, I guess with some internal linking, you could kind of link everything to where, like, you could sculpt how you wanted link equity to flow through the properties, and but again, that's way more work than I'm willing to do. So I just would recommend that you just build the silos within the root domain, mainsite.com.
Yeah, and actually, the way that he has it set up without the what do you call it? The subdomain is perfect. It's mainsite.com, then the sub niche.
Yeah.
And the sub niche would be the category that he'd be siloing. So that's how he'd set it up. Each sub niche would be a page as category.
Right.
And then the sub niche. I mean, this is perfect the way it is. You don't need to go a level, one more level where you would need a subdomain.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first example. Don't put no folder.
Yeah, and no folder, no, because that would be a separate WordPress installation, and that's what I'm saying. So let me just pull this up for one moment, because this will make it seem a little bit more sense. So if you say mainsite.com, what you would typically have is you would have your category, and you'd have your sub, if you're doing complex silo structure, right? So you would be subcategory, and then lastly, post. Right, that's how it would go if it's a simple silo structure, it's just going to be one less level, right? Which would be category posts. That's it. All right, and that's what is all done on one WordPress installation, guys. And that's really, I mean, it's so much easier that way. We only separate by subdomains when we're trying to separate assets, and there's times to do that. But in an authority website, guys, should all be done in one folder or one WordPress installation, in my opinion. Okay, no problem, Adam. Mohammed's up. Mohammed, thanks for being here again, buddy. You are a regular for sure. He says, hey guys, VPS embeds just finished posting. I read the battle plan and it says to build links to the channel. Should I wait before ordering these links, or are the embeds and links separate from each other? Yeah, they're separate from each other, but like, honestly, with YouTube, I don't care how soon you start building links. Really, to me, it makes no difference. What I recommend doing with that is that you actually build links and embeds kind of around the same time, because it makes more sense to do that, like from like a logical standpoint. If you think about it, like, why would you get 50 embeds and no backlinks, or 50 embeds and then backlinks, or backlinks and no embeds? You know what I mean? It just, to me, it would be more like a simultaneous thing. And so we try to think about it that way. Obviously also, if you can send traffic to those at the same time that you're building links and doing embeds, that's an even better signal, and perhaps even some social signals. Although I don't know that social signals have much value anymore for SEO. I haven't really tested it in quite some time, but because I think more about traffic now for that than actual just flat out social signals. Does anybody have a comment for that?
Yeah, as far as social signals, it's we go back to what we're calling ART, and it starts with activity on the link, right? The A. And yeah, Google doesn't care about social signals, and I think it was who's that shithead? John Mueller. He's the one who said Google doesn't pay attention to social signals, but it's a misnomer. It's like a sleight of hand, because Google does care about social signals in that it wants to know what's happening with links. It's all about links. It's always been about links. It is about links now. It will be about links into the future. It's not changing anytime soon. That's the way Google is structured. You give Google a signal on that link and call it a social signal, call it activity on the link, call it whatever. I was going to drop an F-bomb. Call it whatever you want. Google wants to know what's happening in there, right? So that's why one of our strategies is shortening the links with the Google shortener, and so that Google can have direct metrics on what's happening with that link. And you get that activity on that link, and really good things start to happen. So call it, I don't know, we don't have to call it social signals, because John Mueller obviously doesn't want you to know that this is really important. The important part is what happens to that link in whatever platform it is that we're talking about. The platform doesn't matter. It's actually the activity. Now, if the platform is bad, then the signal is bad. But if the platforms are good, then the signals are good, and Google is going to pay attention. They're going to pay attention to both. So yeah, that's my take on it.
And just to be clear, guys, social signals, the reason why like just buying spam social signals typically doesn't work is because they're from accounts that create, like stuff or share stuff or whatever, but then there's no activity on that social signal. And so that's why they just really there's no value there anymore because they don't provide any traffic and there's no activity. If it's a natural social signal, then that post, that share, that like or whatever will propagate or kind of, it will draw attention because there's real followers, real engagers with whoever created that signal to begin with, which means there will be activity on that social signal, whether it's additional traffic or additional comments, likes, shares of that social share itself, if that makes sense. So like if somebody shares a URL to Facebook and nothing ever happens to that share on Facebook, in other words, there's no comments, no likes for that share, no engagement on that share, does that share even register? Now, I don't know 100% whether it does or not, but it's basically, it provides no value. So in my opinion, it would be ignored, right? Now, if that share, if somebody has a lot of friends or a big following or whatever on Facebook and they share a URL, it's typically going to get a bunch of comments in that post, which is basically funneling link equity from all those other profiles to that social share post, right? Does that make sense? Which then transfers ultimately back into the target URL, whatever was shared. And so that's my point. If you can get second level or second tier engagement on social signals, that's where they end up having some power. And oftentimes, and think about it, guys, when people engage on a social share, so a first tier social share, when people engage on that, there will be a level of traffic that comes from that too. And it's referral traffic from those platforms, which is a great ranking signal. So that's why I'm saying, like, just buying straight up social signals is typically useless. It's a waste of money because you're not getting any engagement on those social signals, no traffic, no referral traffic, and no, additional, like I said, engagement with the actual share posts themselves. All right. So save your money. All right. Number 2 is, have you had results with Mass Blogger and the G-Site Generator? I bought WP Blog Creator and the other 3 programs are pretty similar. Do they start to rank for tough terms after a while? No, Mohammed. And one thing I've mentioned just about every week because questions come up about these, I totally endorse these products, but I don't use them to rank those properties. I use them as link networks. So there was a question earlier about what is your favorite spamming method for websites? I don't do a lot of link building on my own, but I am actually doing link building with those Peter Drew products, the Mass Blogger, G-Site Generator, the WP Creator. I'm using those, and I'm actually working on a couple projects right now with those, and I'm using those to create very, very themed, relevant networks. They're mini networks, mini blogger networks, mini G-Site networks, and many WordPress site.com site networks that are helping me to rank my target URLs, right? Which can be videos, they can be money sites, Google My Business listings, press releases. We can like drive stacks. You can use those to help boost the Google sites, right? So your Google Money site, not the ones that you generate from the Google Site Generator, but like if you have a drive stack, it's going to have one primary Google site, right? That's basically the pinnacle of the drive stack, right? Is the Google site. And so like using these little these tools to create many networks to boost that is really, really powerful. All right. So I don't look, if some of those sites rank for keywords like long tail stuff, hey, that's a bonus. That's great. But that's not my intention. That's not what my goal is, right? My goal is to have those properties help to rank whatever my target URL is. All right. Number 3, when you have a first person keyword, do you change it when using it in a blog? Take a keyword like, how do I create my own website? Would you make a title of the blog or make it, how do you make your own website? I'd play with both of those, Mohammed. Honestly, I don't know because I haven't done anything like that in quite some time, posted that. I would just kind of test both of them and see. Something else you can do is when you do a search in Google for those types of queries and take a look at the bolded words in the search results and see if there's variations in the search results of how people would word that type of a question or that search query that gets answered in the search results, and take a look, because Google a lot of times make that connection that the question was posted in first person, but it's been answered in third person, and it will show the third person modifiers as bold, even though the query was a first person modifier. Does that make sense? Because again, Google with RankBrain and it knows enough now. It knows with the semantic web engine, it knows enough about those being related queries. And so just take a look and do a little bit of research on your own. Let Google show you, you should be. I'm fairly certain that it won't matter, but just do a little bit of research on your own. You should be able to figure that out. All right, moving on. Brian says, I'm in the process of optimizing pages on an existing site that I bought. It's getting about 6,000 uniques per month, so I have some good data to work with in Search Console. I'm starting with the top 10 pages getting traffic. What do you suggest I do to optimize with on-page or off-page SEO? The pages are not well optimized for SEO. They rank purely on their original content. I don't want to do anything that hurts existing rankings or traffic. Should I take existing search queries to find more related, higher competition keywords to rank for and add more related content to the page, interlinking? What do you suggest? Brian, and again, this is, guys, I don't want you guys to think like I'm totally just pitching for Jeffrey Smith, but I'm telling you, his training course, SEO Bootcamp, is exactly, I mean, there's the answer you need is in that course. A lot of the stuff that you can do, like, remember, ranking pages, guys, are huge for being able to push rankings to other pages too. So if you've got and it's not even about the backlink profile. It's about if you've got like pages that are generating traffic, they're ranking well, and they're generating traffic. They're probably generating traffic because they're ranking well, or they're ranking well because they're generating traffic. It's kind of like a cause and effect. It's a perpetual thing, right? And so those are actually, you can put internal links from those to other pages that you're trying to push, as long as they're relevant. You want to make sure that you're siloing, your theming, your keyword theming is tight. But if you push, like, put a link, an internal link from one of those pages that is ranking well and receiving traffic over to something else that may be on the cusp. Like, for example, if you've got a keyword, a page on a site that is, on page 2, and you look in Search Console and you see that it is getting impressions for the, the keyword that you're trying to rank that page for, but the position is such that it's not receiving a lot of traffic, then what you can do, or it's not getting good positioning in the search results, what you can do is actually link to that page from a related page on the site that is ranking well, that is receiving traffic, and give it a boost, right? But again, I wouldn't recommend just directing link flow as your primary source for ranking other pages. That's a great strategy, but you also want to make sure that the pages are optimized well, because once again, as I mentioned earlier, with proper on-page optimization and site structure, you can rank with just a fraction. And this is exactly what Jeffrey demonstrates in his training, is how he can take pages and rank for fairly, like, in some cases, very competitive terms with absolutely no backlinks, because he's just utilizing pages on a site that are already receiving a lot of traffic or have been optimized well and are ranking well. And then through the proper on-page and internal linking structure, it ends up ranking the other pages. And that's quite incredible. And that's what I'm saying. Like, building a bunch of links can be a pain in the ass, guys, because most links are flat out toxic now. And it's becoming more and more difficult to build valid links that don't harm your site or that aren't discounted by Google. And so, in my opinion, I think it's a skill that should be further developed. And I'm not going to lie, I've let my on-page SEO knowledge kind of slip over the last many months because I haven't been doing a lot of it. So it's very, very refreshing for me to get back into this type of this study, this research, and actually implementing as I'm going through it, because I'm starting to see it just reminded me of how important on-page really is. Okay. You guys got any comments on that? It was a great question, by the way, Brian.
No, I thought that was a great answer.
Awesome. Thoughts on GSA for YouTube? Sure. Why not? I mean, I don't know, because again, we've got a Dedia who knows how to use GSA very, very well, and I do send YouTube URLs to him to spam often. Don't forget to use playlists, guys. When you if you're going to be using spam tools, make sure that you are not only spamming multiple variations of the YouTube URL, which, there are ways that you can get, I mean, what is it? There's something like 40 some, and it's probably more now, but there was like 40 some versions of YouTube URL. So you can.
No, there's way more.
Is there?
Way more. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, however many there are, if you're going to be spamming, spam all the variations of the URL that you can, as well as putting it into a playlist, and grab as many variations of the playlist URL as you can, and hit the playlist URL too, even if it's a single video playlist. That makes sense, right? I've heard of people saying that they've gotten YouTube videos that have never been like de-indexed, but like demoted in their search results because of too much spam. But I don't know, maybe because we've got somebody that knows what they're doing. I've never experienced that. So Lisa says, what would happen if we stop posting content? That depends. Let me let you guys in on a secret here. For my lead gen sites, you know, I use syndication networks. It's standard operating procedure. We publish blog posts. Always start with 3 to 5 blog posts. This is covered in all the different trainings. We always talk about that. I always start with 3 to 5 posts, and then I continue posting until the site ranks. And the maps pack is typically what I'm trying to do for lead gen, and for, you know, local stuff. And then I usually stop posting and until it starts to slip, at which point, or if it's very competitive, and then I'll continue the posting, but I may reduce the frequency of publishing so that it reduces my expenses. But for like most of my lead gen stuff, guys, I only post to the syndication network and add blog posts to the sites long enough to get them to rank into the 3-pack. Once it ranks, I stop, because it's just an added expense that I don't need to incur. Now, that said, if I'm selling content marketing and SEO services to local businesses, it's something that you just continue to do over and over and over again, because it maintains their rankings, right? And it's generating revenue for your business. I mean, it would be silly to tell a business owner, yeah, I'm going to do blog posting until it ranks, and then we're just going to stop. And you can stop paying me, by the way. My work is done here. I'm going to go find another client. That's silly, guys. So, you know, again, I just got another lead come in through QuickMail. Awesome. I just heard it. So yeah, just keep in mind, for your own assets, I would do whatever you need. Do as little work as possible to achieve results. For client work, you put them on a reasonable plan for services that are going to achieve the results, and it's a recurring model, right? You want to keep that recurring model at whatever cost necessary because honestly, it's, if they were to stop paying you because you stopped blogging, and 2 or 3 months goes by and they start to slip in the rankings, which it's likely to happen, then they're going to blame you, or they're going to go find somebody else to come back to restore their rankings, right? Or unless, you know, I mean, because they're going to think, oh, well, whatever he did or she did didn't work well enough. It didn't stick, right? Which is why I recommend you just stick with it. Once you get them ranked, you just keep it going. And I've had clients ask me, do we really need to keep doing all this? And I say, yes. Do you want to stay in the position you are? Because it's so easy for them to forget when they start generating leads for their business what it was like to not have leads, right? And you can remind them, well, yeah, your business has been doing well for the last 6 months, right? Do you really want to jeopardize or risk that? You know, I could stop doing what I'm doing and it may stick for 3 months. It may stick for 6 months. There's really no way to tell. I recommend that we continue going because it's obviously serving you well. Does that make sense? Okay. No other comments. We'll keep moving. We've only got about 15 minutes left, guys. RL's got another one. How do we go about finding keywords for long tail traffic? And then what is the best way to write about it? If we are trying to focus on water heater repair replacement and trying to generate content specifically designed for long tail traffic, it is tough to continue to write fluff around how much does water heater repair replacement cost and 3 tips to finding a good plumber. You're right, RL. Again, it's so funny that Jeffrey Smith's SEO Bootcamp again. It's got really, really good on-page training, or excuse me, keyword research training. A lot of stuff that I hadn't even really thought about before, because usually for, like you said, in your example, for like local plumber stuff, a lot of the times you're not really looking for those question type queries. It's more about like commercial intent queries that we usually target, right? Because what are we ultimately trying to do? Generate leads. However, there is something to be said for building the authority and the presence of a site by providing useful information around that industry or industry queries, questions, right? And so what you can do is just go to, and it's a very simple, it's a tedious process, but it's a simple process, but just going to Google and using some top level keywords, like market level keywords without local modifiers, like how much does water heater repair replacement cost? Right, and you put that in as a Google search query, and then go take a look at like the knowledge graph or the knowledge graph questions that come up. And you might have to play around with variations of the keywords or of the query itself in order to produce those types of questions. But if you look at the questions that show up in those like accordion menus, basically right within the search results, those are like knowledge graph questions. You can get some really good ideas there, as well as pay attention to all the related search terms at the bottom of the page. The Google search result page, look at the related search. You'll often, a lot of times, find other types of questions that can be answered. And each one of those questions, guys, and then drill into each one of those results. So in other words, when you collect a question from the knowledge graph, go open another tab, go to Google and put that question in and see what else returns, and then scrape that page, pull out any relevant questions or queries from that page as well. And the same thing with the related searches at the bottom. Go drill into each one of those. And then what you can do is you can compile similar questions into longer form blog posts, right? So that you have one piece of content, one post or one page that can rank for multiple queries, guys. And there's actually ways to get those queries to pop into search results as knowledge panels, or basically knowledge panels, what they call position 0, right? In the SERPs. So that's a great way to do it. And also don't forget, use Power Suggest Pro, right? After you've collected all those terms, and use trends. So you can go, trends a lot of the times isn't going to show you data on like long, more complex queries, like longer, like questions and stuff, but you can get ideas for your seed terms from trends. And then you can drill into those seed terms and start looking for those types of questions. Then you collect all those queries and questions, put them into a notepad file or a spreadsheet or whatever, then go drill into each one of those, collect more. And then once you've got this comprehensive list, you can go into something like Power Suggest Pro, which is what we always recommend, and drill into those terms even further. And next thing you know, you'll have just a huge pile of keywords and search queries and really complex stuff that you can start to organize in a logical fashion and create some like cornerstone content essentially on your site, even as blog posts, guys. It's a great way to get a lot of traction very quickly. Okay. Great question, though. Another one from you, Arbel. Anybody have comments on that before I move on?
No, I thought that was perfect.
Okay. And again, guys, I'm like, in just the last couple of days, I've learned a lot about this, and seen some real reason. Like the site that I'm applying all these techniques on is for a national based site. And so you have to get into that level of SEO optimization. Now, I'm so used to doing local, and, usually most of my local sites are like city specific. They don't usually have much like larger service areas where I have to do real complex silo structuring, because usually when I'm targeting multiple cities, I create multiple physical locations and I use separate subdomains for each city. So each individual site build is really only optimized for one city, which makes it so much easier. But when you get into doing like national SEO or, service area SEO, but it's a large service area and you do it all from one location or one website, that's where it starts to get more complex. And these content stacking strategies and proper structure and proper on-page optimization becomes so much more important, right? And that's why I'm saying, like, these are some amazing information that can help with that kind of stuff. Al's up. Hey guys, thanks for all you do. I'll +1 that. I'll +1 this one too, by the way, RL. A while back, you suggested a content provider for high-quality spun articles. Do you still recommend them? Yes. They're not. I don't think they're spun though. Keith Goodwin, he was just asking a question earlier. He's got the best high-quality spun articles, and that's, God, this is really bad. What is superspunarticles.com? Let's go there for a second, and then I'm going to share the other provider too, superspunarticle.com. Keith, if this isn't you, please reach out to me and tell me, because this should be it.
That's him. That's him.
Keith. Okay. Yeah, if you're looking for super spun articles, I would recommend going to Keith. I haven't done a whole lot of spam work where I've needed these in quite some time, but when I did a couple years ago, he was my go-to guy. There's no doubt. And I tested multiple services, and he was the best, hands down. So I endorse his super spun article service without a doubt. As far as individual content, I've been using this a lot recently because my primary writer has been really backed up with other work. Let's see. I probably had it. There we go. NatashaNixon.com. So I'll grab both of these URLs and paste them on the page. And for her, well, let me show you. I'll show you which service specifically I use for web page content, because I've been using her recently a lot, or I say her, but Natasha Nixon, that website. I've been using that a lot for content. So under the select service, I select authority content. That's for web page content, right? If you're doing content for link building, again, if you need something spun, go here. If you're using it for money site content, you want to select authority content, and I think it comes out to be about 8 cents per word. Whoops. Yeah, it's about 8 cents per word, right? $80 for a 1,000-word article. And so I usually buy the 1,500 or 2,000-word articles for web page content. That's typically what I pay for. Even 2,000 words is only 100. I mean, it's $160, but it's good content. I've really only had to have a couple of edits made, and I've bought a few dozen articles from her now, or from this website, I should say. So, okay, check it out. Good question, though. We're almost out of time, guys. We're going to run through a few more. Arpiat says, what's the main difference between Mailshaker and QuickMail.io? Landed up with this tool. Is this similar to Cognitive SEO, the tool shown for ranking articles with great content? I haven't used AB service for that, guys. To be honest, I don't know. I know we had that Cognitive SEO webinar with Razvan yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Maybe it was Monday. Whatever. Actually, it was yesterday morning. And he's got that. We just got access for testing purposes, and I'm actually going to be using this same tool, the Content Assistant tool, part of the Cognitive SEO app or application suite of tools. I'm going to be using that in conjunction with the on-page training that I'm taking from Jeffrey Smith and the SEO Bootcamp. I'm going to be combining those two. So I'm going to be using all the structure and internal link building and on-page optimization tips from the SEO Bootcamp training for this authority site that's a national-based site. And then I'm also going to be using the Cognitive SEO and Content Helper tool to help to optimize the content based upon the data that provides. So, and again, this is stuff that, well, it'll be shared in the mastermind. It's likely not going to be shared outside of the mastermind. But yeah, because I'm really looking to use both of those tools, if that makes sense. So I don't know about Ab's tool. Ab usually produces good products, though. I'm not going to lie. So, you know, if that's what you got, use it. All right. Okay, this post is from Anowar. He is our other Semantic Mastery approved phone verified account creator. There's two of them that we endorse, right? And guys, it's just a pain in the ass to create phone verified accounts. There are often issues even with pre-purchased ones, but these are two providers that have taken care of us, right? There's the bulk PVA. We've talked about him multiple times. And then this is the other one. This is Anowar. There's a Skype ID. I gave him permission to post this. That does not give other people permission to post promotional stuff on our pages. If you want to, you could always reach out to us and ask for permission. And in this particular case, I gave him permission. By the way, his website is this here. So he's got his Skype address there. Reach out to him, and you can also go here. Again, he's one of two providers that we endorse. All right.
Just so people know, I'm always on the lookout for people spamming our stuff. And I almost did nuke him.
Yeah.
But I asked you just in case, because I wasn't sure. But I am always on the lookout for people. And like this, let this be your only warning. If you spam our groups, any of our free groups with garbage, I will ban you. Point blank.
Drop the fucking hammer.
That's it.
That's awesome. And Wayne Clayton, one of our longtime mastermind members, he's kind of an attack dog too, because he'll throw the ban hammer real quick when he thinks somebody's spamming. So that's awesome. So, all right, Steve says, can I ask a question? I'm going through a negative SEO attack. Any advice? Oh, Marco, what's your advice on that? Muted?
Yeah, I was sorry. I was muted. You know, Jason Quinlan just had a negative SEO attack. I mean, are they attacking? Is it a bot attack? What is it? Because I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to ban the bots. If you get your traffic from whatever it is, right? If it's mainly from Google, Bing, and social media, then you only allow those bots on your website. Now, the problem is that people will change the user agents that you block, and so that you don't have those user agents blocked. The way we do it is a lot different than most people. But I mean, a bot attack could be so many things. Is it the server? Is it the website? What is it that they're attacking? Right. So that we can know what the advice
Yeah.
could possibly be.
Yeah, because if it's just a negative link attack, I've had a couple clients that have experienced that, and it's been a pain in the ass. I don't know of a more efficient way to do it, but what I will do is just go in periodically, depending on how aggressive the spammer is, and create disavow files. Like I'll do backlink analysis, pull a report. I'll take all the toxic links and throw them into a disavow file, submit to Search Console, and then go have all those links that were in the disavow file crawled. So essentially I just send them through multiple indexers so that Google goes and crawls those URLs and knows to disavow them, because it just cross-references what's been submitted when it goes and recrawls the link. And I've been successful at keeping negative SEOs from producing much of a penalty at all by doing that. But it's ongoing and it's a pain in the ass. And if you got somebody that is persistent enough, then that might not be a viable solution. Right. It's not very efficient regardless, but that's how I've done it in the few cases, just a handful of cases that I've experienced that in my career.
The way we do it, I mean, to start with is of course a drive stack, because a drive stack will withstand just about anything. It'll filter just about anything, but then you're going to have to see, again, we have to know, because you could actually take the pages that are being spammed, filter them through Drive, push them back to the website, and they'll actually filter out all the garbage, and it'll give you nothing but love back.
Yeah.
But you really have to know what you're doing. I don't know how much more advice we can give you on this forum, since it's free. But there's tons of things that you can do.
Yeah. Let's see. Any advice on how to use Semantic Mastery and your other services to rank for a candidate in an upcoming election? Unfortunately, I can't give you any advice on that. I've never done anything for that. I've thought about trying to do that in the past. Within my own local town, there was somebody that there was potential there for me to do some marketing work for them, but I ultimately declined because I wasn't sure how to really approach that. So I didn't want to take it on and promise results without having experience and knowing, like, with some level of confidence that I could produce the results. So I don't really know. I don't know about ranking. I would think for election type stuff, I would go with mainly all paid traffic. I'm not, and the only reason I say that is because usually it's just a temporary thing, right? It's only for however long the campaign lasts, and then once the campaign's over, it's done. And so I wouldn't want to put a shit ton of work in the SEO for weeks or months in advance just for it to be like something that ends very abruptly when the election's over. So personally, I would go to something that you can scale and get instant, results instantly, basically, and that would be PPC. That's my best advice, but again, I've not done it, so I really have limited experience there.
Yeah, pay-per-click into social media.
Yeah,
right. I think that'll be
PPC in social media and even paid posts on social media.
Yep.
So, okay, Dominic, probably gonna be the last question. Well, he says, this is a comment: silos can be done with Jeff's plugin, simple or complex. Yes, they can. That's what I love about it. Well, especially the framework, the SEO design framework. Again, there's a bit of a learning curve with that theme. That framework. There's no doubt, but it's very, very powerful. It's worth learning how to use. That's going to be pretty much my go-to framework for WordPress sites going forward. Is that on the gsites? Are you building multi-page sites? Yes, Dominic. Actually, I am. I'm doing the multi-page sites, so I'm building one site at a time with multiple pages with the gsites builder. And then what I do is I just build multiple multi-page sites, and I use those to create those little link networks. So essentially what I'll do is I will take a keyword theme. So think about taking one silo from your money site and creating a Google site, an 8-page Google site that targets all your supporting article, your supporting keywords for that silo, right? So each page on the Google site is another keyword that stacks to make that overall keyword theme, right? That keyword cluster. And so each individual Google site is its own keyword cluster. And I use those to actually create massive relevancy for each one of those Google sites that then I pass back to whatever my target URLs are. Okay. So again, guys, when I get these projects done that I've been using these tools for, I'm going to do a case study like that. It's obviously going to be to promote his tools as well, but I'm going to share what I'm doing with these tools and how to get results with them, at least how I'm doing it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, cool. Looks like we just about finished up. Got almost all of them. We missed one, Dominic. Sorry about that, buddy, but we're at the 5 o'clock mark, so we're going to wrap it up. Great questions today, guys. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, Rob, for hanging out.
All right, man. Bye, everyone.
See ya. Have a good one, bud.
Thanks, Rob. Mastermind members, we do have a Mastermind webinar tomorrow, so we'll see you all then. Thanks, guys.